the answer. Like, there's
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Uh, Shifty. Um, this is not my first official podcast, but this is more so like an introduction. Let you know where the ground laying came from, or really what made me decide to start doing this. This is something I wanted to do. I'd say 9 years ago. Me and my buddy James were talking about doing this, and I put it off. In the beginning, we were talking about doing, like a man cast, things we'd been through, stuff like that. And yeah, we put it off and never really came into fruition. He became a successful business owner and he's doing his own thing, and life got busy. And I, like most people, found my thing and started doing my own thing as well. But there was a few, I guess you could say, situations or things that happened that forced me to need to do this. So I mean, to jump out there, the reason I call it Shifty's hot spot is everybody's been familiar with being in a hot seat, where all the attention's on you. Um, it's kind of what I want to do on this. I want everybody that I have on, including myself, to be kind of transparent and open to what's going on. Um, to be legit, I guess, is the best way to put what I'm trying to say. Um, the thing that sparked this podcast for me was there was a lot of situations. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Over the last about 6 years, I was in corrections. Anybody that's ever worked in corrections knows it's the only the only people you really have around you are those that you work with or that you trust. But there's a lot of emotions and things that go into military, law enforcement, first responders. Um, those are careers that not most people do, and it takes a certain type of person to do those. Um, so you get in the habit of, I mean, maybe when I was new, I would talk to people about maybe my day or what was going on. You always get the same look. I mean, most people don't go through things like that. And you get to the point where you can have the worst kind of day, be in the worst kind of environment, and the only thing you can really say at the end of the day is that your day was good. You know, it's a it's an easy answer, kind of an escape. And if you do that for years, if you do that for a long time, you're going to find that the things that you don't talk about will actually, in the long run, they're gonna bother you. They're gonna affect you in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's at home or you know, uh, it's difficult. When you see things that normal people don't see, um, it can be traumatizing. And I wanted to create a place where people are understood, that that you're not alone, that other people are going through the same things as you, and a lot of times it's you just want to speak to somebody, you want to talk to somebody, and I wanted to create a place for that where we can do that, where you can show other people that you can be the toughest person in the world, but you're gonna have a bad day. You're gonna go through some sort of something that's gonna break you down. My entire life I always assumed that I was a tough guy. You know, it's who I was. But there was some things showed me that maybe I'm human and it's okay to be human and have emotions and feel certain things. I'm big on being a father. Um, it's my number one priority in life. It's all I think about. It's all I do. Being in corrections, wasn't difficult for me. For me, it was actually pretty easy. I don't know if the inmates took to me because I had a similar background or, they could sense something in me. But I was good at it. I've been good at it. But, there was a couple situations that forced me to take a step back to try to evaluate my life. For a long time, I was super good at it. I mean, when your lieutenants or your captains or anybody can be like, hey, this guy's acting out, Schechter, what's your 20? We need you to come over here and talk to him. I mean, you're counted on, so you know that you're good at something. And I was that guy for a long time. But there were some situations that I never really, I guess, addressed. I became like the go-to guy, and you know, a lot of people that I met, you know, especially at my first facility. I mean, a lot of them people I consider family, brothers, sisters. Um, you know, the general public doesn't understand what you go through in there, but mental health is a huge thing. It's a big thing in there, and you just kind of go through the motions day by day. Um, so to be truthful, I always thought about doing this, but there was a couple situations and things that led up to where I'm at right now, where I felt like now's the time to do this. Uh, so when I promoted, I went to Colorado State Penitentiary, and at the time they were trying to do a lot of different things. This is a 23-hour out a day facility, and they changed the whole program. They started wanting to let them all out together, and you're talking about the worst kind of men in a room together. So we'd let one tier out, take him to the yard, and another tier out to frolic and play. Now, me knowing the way that these men think and have done this for a while, I knew that that was a bad idea. It was horrible from the start. And, you start seeing a lot of situations or things that you don't normally see. I mean, I dealt with a lot at my previous facility, but watching a homicide is not normal. People that go through that have a lot of issues, and it's not something that you ever want to see as normal. It's not normal. Well, you go doing that for a while, you're going to have some health effects. And I had become so, I don't know how you say, I didn't know where my normal life started and when work ended. They all kind of started to blend. A lot of chaos, a lot of emotions, and it just wasn't good for me, for my family, for really anybody around me. So I went through some things, and there was a certain day, and I can't even tell you what holiday it was. I don't even remember. But we had a day, man. It was one of them days, and I show up at my mother's house. Family's there, everybody's there. It's a gathering, and I couldn't seem to calm down. I couldn't calm down. It was like my adrenaline was going so fast, and things were happening, and it was like couldn't do it. I had to pull my mom to the side and be like, "Hey, I got to go downstairs. I need to be in the dark for a while." And I knew things were getting kind of bad. I was on blood pressure medicine and all kinds of stuff for stress, but they'd also given me anxiety medicine, and I hadn't touched it. That was the first day I had to take it, and took it. Fell asleep for who knows how long. When I woke up, everybody was gone. Naturally, you look like an asshole. Yeah. And it wasn't that I was trying to be an asshole, it was just that I was going through some stuff. And, I think I'd done that so long suppressing um, things that I was going through, or it all started adding up. It started affecting my health. Not even just talking work corrections. I'm not saying I wasn't built for it. I was great at it. But it started weighing on me. I mean, things got heavy, and I'm going to be the first person to admit it. It was getting a little much. Um, you know, the second thing that happened when I was out there that really told me I needed to walk away from it or seek something different. Anybody that knows my children know they're well behaved. They're good kids. You know my son is probably my best friend, and I mean that. I ask this kid to do anything, he does it. Um, he's an amazing young man. I can't necessarily pinpoint what it was that specific day, and it was so minimal. But yeah, I jumped on him. I snapped on him in a way that I would do to somebody at work, and it was not normal. Uh, I had to walk away. It took about 15, 20 minutes to gather myself. I knew as soon as it happened that that was not okay. And when I looked at my son that day, I seen something that I was familiar with, maybe in my past when I was younger. It was almost like he looked at me in fear, and you don't do that to your children. It's not something that you do. Um, once I collected myself, I came, talked to him, explained that that was not okay, and he would never get that part of me again. But brought up a lot of old emotions, old feelings. You know, we went through a lot as kids. Me and my five siblings. I'm the oldest of five, and I just knew it was time to maybe step away from that. Um, it was difficult because I was good at the job, but it was also difficult because I was somebody for that time frame. I'd worked my ass off to be in that position, and at the end of the day, I had to choose my kids. I had to choose my health. I had to choose to be better. Um, it was tough. I mean, there's no other way around that for me. So like with anything I ever do in my life, I had to set my kids down, talk to them. I said, hey, it might be time for Dado to do something different, seek something different. I knew I wanted to stay within corrections, or I still wanted to make an impact. And ultimately, I found myself at a youth facility trying to work with kids, and that was cool for a short time. If they let you, if they would let me coach and mentor those youth the way that they should be, or the way that I feel is right, it would have been fulfilling for both me and the youth. But it's not the way the state works, unfortunately. It's the way that it is. But when it comes back to what I'm trying to do, I'm going to bring it back a little bit. So, June of 2024, I lost my father. And, it was kind of out of the blue. It wasn't something that I ever foreseen coming or happening. I mean, I can't necessarily say that I grew up with my father. I didn't. It was kind of towards the end, where we started getting to know each other and actually building a bond. And the next thing I know, he's gone. And this time he was gone for good. And, I always looked at him as, he was an Army staff sergeant. He had all these medals, wartime. He was respected. But unfortunately, like myself, he was very good at hiding things. When he passed away, I found out he had demons just like everybody else. He was on his third divorce. Um, just got out of the military. And, when I was growing up, from everybody that I heard, my dad was straight edge. Didn't smoke, didn't drink, didn't anything. Well, unfortunately, when you get low enough, you're going to find something that makes you feel good. And for my father, that was alcohol. And I can't necessarily say that it killed him, but I'm going to say it was a large contributor. And when I found that out, that's when I told myself, I know my calling now. I'm going to create something where even the strongest of men can come into, even if you're just listening, even if you're not on the podcast, know that you're understood, and that throughout life you're going to go through things. I myself have went through a divorce. It sucked. 2019, 2020 was, one of the worst 2 years of my life. Hands down. And, once you feel like you're past something, there's another something. There's always going to be something. If life was truly easy, I mean, we wouldn't have to work so hard at it. And, I think one of the big things for me is I'm proud of me and, my two brothers, because we didn't really grow up with anybody but each other. There's a such thing as having a present father who's not present. You can be in the same room and not even interact with each other and know each other that are there. For me, I was blessed enough that, growing up, I had my grandfathers, my great grandfathers, and, growing up, I knew the type of person I didn't want to be, but I didn't have anything to base off, necessarily who I wanted to be. who is, you know, Nick supposed to become. So, I guess I took bits and pieces from the men around me that, qualities or things that I admired or respected, and tried to build them into, I guess, my own version of a dad. I don't know, and it was a learning process. Yeah, this whole thing's been a big learning process, to be honest with you. I can never sit back and tell everybody that I have it all together. I don't. I really don't. But when I don't, I have people that I reach out to. I'm very good at, I pray every night. Um, there's things that I do to keep me in line the best that I can. And, I have my own fair share of things that I go to. Sometimes I have this weird habit, man. I'll disappear for months. You won't hear from me. I won't reach out. I won't say anything. And if you ask me how I'm doing, I'm going to tell you I'm good. It's unhealthy. And I know that. And, it's something that I'm working on. But, life can really get you. It can get you, man. And, I've lost a lot of people over the years. I have a kindergarten picture. I have a kindergarten picture of me and my closest best friends. And in that picture, at 35 years of age, I'm the only one still with a life. Throughout the years, they've all left. And sometimes I would like to think that that's for a reason. I don't know what that reason is. I'm trying to figure it out. But, I'm blessed enough to have the backing that I have, to have the people around me that I have, and to really start doing this. This is, like I said, this is not my first podcast. This is just an introduction. I want to let people know that this is not just a mental health thing. It's not a boo-hoo thing, a feel sorry for me thing. It's transparency, a place for people to say and express how they feel with no judgment. Because a lot of times, we go through things and you feel like you're the only person out here going through it, and you're not. You're really not. You know, life gets tough. Life gets heavy as hell sometimes. You know, when I stress that, I'm super big on the mental health stuff, it's for a reason. There's a few times it almost beat me, especially when I was a teenager. I'm blessed to be here today. Mm, my family found me close to, if not dead, twice. And I'm still here. And I don't want anybody to go through that. I don't have an audience specifically that I'm trying to reach, whether it be teenagers, you know, young adults, grown men. Sometimes people just need to hear that they're not alone, that you can do this, that anything you can put your mind to or believe in yourself on, you can do it. I am poster child for that. There's not anything in my life I've ever done or tried to do that I have not accomplished. Have I failed at a lot of things? Yeah, absolutely. But I've at least made an attempt to try. What I'm doing right now is my attempt at trying to do something. And, we'll see where this goes. I can't tell you where it goes. I can't say that this is going to be a career for me, but I know that at the end of the day, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Somebody, somewhere, either it's definitely not going to be from this, but down the road in the podcast that I make, I'm going to reach somebody when they needed to be reached. And that's always what I've tried to accomplish in anything I've ever done. So, you know, like I said, this is not my first podcast. This is just an introduction. And I look forward to showing you guys, the substance and the people that I can bring around, the conversations that we can have, the things that we can go through together. The same concept of, like a brotherhood, sisterhood type thing that we go through, you know, law enforcement, corrections. I mean, those people become your people. Your family is your family. There's a lot of people that I've chosen to be part of my family. That's what I want to do here. That's my goal. So, without further ado, I'm Shifty. This is Shifty's Hotspot. This is my little introduction podcast. And the next one is going to be a lot more legit. It's not going to be, in my room. And I hope this flourishes into something great. Not just for me, but for everybody and the people that are around me. You're going to learn a lot about the people that I bring on. And, I want to hear from entrepreneurs. I want to hear from law enforcement. I want to hear from military. I want to hear from, you know, my first guest should be Isaiah Torres. I want to hear from Torres, who's a big brother of mine. He's like family to me. I consider him a brother. But I watched the stuff that kid goes through. We know each other from corrections, and he gets out and he trains to go fight some more. I mean, what more of a man can you have, or a poster child for somebody that busts their ass and gives their all than Torres, you know? And just like anybody else, I imagine Torres goes through battles. Sometimes he probably don't speak about. And I'm excited to have him on this, very first podcast. And my next guest after that, I have in line. I think you guys will like that as well. But throughout these podcasts, you're gonna get to know me. You're gonna know a lot about me. I didn't want to spill my guts here today, but I think we're ready to go. And I appreciate your time. This is people that have subscribed. Um, you're the best. Um, and if you feel like this can turn into something, or something that you can turn into, by all means, like, subscribe, share, let your people know. But I guess this is my introduction, and we will see you possibly within the next few days. I appreciate your time, and let's get this going.